Okay, so I'm just returning to the outside of the building here. I've just opened up the 3D default view, which you can see over in the project browser there. And remember, if you click on the house icon at the top, that will do the same thing. And so I can see there my walls that, of course, need a roof to go over the top to make the building look more complete. And I'm going to go to the south elevation just before I make the roof, just so that you can get a good idea of the levels I have. So you'll need to have the same levels to make these two roof shapes, and you can see them there, upper floor CL and parapet. So you need both of those. Oh yes, sorry, yes, of course, yeah, forgot about that, yep, sure. Okay, so, oh, okay, yep, sure. So what's your computer number? 04, yeah, that'll be it, yeah. Okay, so again, I've got the most important one, upper floor CL. That's the ceiling level, and that is also going to be the base of our roof with that height. So I'm just going to open up the drawings. So that you can see these two roof shapes. So I've got the one at the back, and you can see there that the base of that roof sits on this ceiling level, but then this one does as well. It's just that it goes in a different direction. So this one here comes down to the right, and you can see again its base also sits on that level. Okay, so we're not given a slope, so we'll need to work that out as it's being made, but that can be done. So I'm going to start with this roof here. And so it's going to go essentially across the width of this wall here. So I just need to be aware of all those things before making it, and then to finally make it, I'm going to go back to my floor plans and go to the upper floor CL floor plan. And then we can see all of those walls, and so again, this is the wall where the edge of the roof is going to start. So that's where the gutter would sit as well, so where this roof gets drained. And so then finally to make the roof, clicking on the down arrow there, I'm going to make sure I go to roof by footprint. And in properties, I'm going to change the roof type to generic 125mm. And then you can see in the draw panel there on the ribbon, it's already on pick walls, but if it's not letting you select the wall, just make sure that that button there, pick walls, is selected. And so I'm actually going to start with the top wall there. And I'll also, before I choose it, turn define slope on the options bar off. That's very important. And so then I'm going to choose the lower edge of that wall, or the inside edge, and then the inside edge of the next wall over here, and then coming around, just following each of those walls. But then I'm going to switch to the line tool. And you'll see why in a moment, because I want this line to be on the outer edge of the wall. So I couldn't use pick walls for that. So again, using the line tool, this time I'm going to go back as well and turn define slope back on the ribbon there. And then I'm just going to draw along the bottom edge of that wall, or the outer edge. and then take it back up to the top. Oh no, sorry. Before I do that, I've got to finish, so I'm going to cancel by right-clicking, and then I'll turn Define Slab off before I draw that final line there coming back up to the top. So that's the shape of my roof, and now I'm going to use Trim to Corner and join that last line that I drew to the top, making sure I choose the side that I want to keep, which is to the left, so it takes away the part on the right. And I also need to trim the corner down here to join those two lines together. So that's the shape of my first roof. So I'm going to finish that, and then we'll have a look at it in 3D, see what's happening. Right, so it's got the correct slope. So the slope is in the correct direction, but the angle's not right, it's too high. Okay, so to establish that angle, we need to know the height of this parapet wall. Now it should already be correct, but I'm just going to double check that. So it's about 1200 above this level. Okay, so again, to establish our heights and to work with them, we'll either use section views or elevation views. So back to that south elevation, and I can see the height there. I'm pretty sure this is right. The parapet 6335 should be correct. Maybe a little bit low. I'm just going to check my other drawing and make sure it is what it should be. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, so that's right. So as long as you've got upper floor CL 5300 and the other one 6355, that should be right. So now what we can do is just select that roof and use those arrows there to drag the top of it down below the parapet. And then over here you can see it's giving us the angle, which turns out to be about 17 degrees. And that's nothing, otherwise we'd have to go and work that out, which would be a lot more work. Okay, so then back into the 3D view. So that's now fitting in nicely behind these walls. So those walls, they're the parapet walls, and they hide the roof. Except this wall needs to now sit under the roof. So I'm going to select that wall and then choose Attach Top Base on the ribbon, and then select the roof by clicking on the edge of it. And of course now it's attached that wall to the roof, and we can see it clearly sitting on top of the wall. So that's the first roof done. So I'll save my file. Okay, so to do the second one, it's basically the same process. It's just that it slopes in a different direction. It slopes to the back. So now I'll go back to the upper floor CL floor plan. And again, just quickly look at the drawings just to get my bearings and make sure I know which walls it's connected to. We don't seem to have an elevation of the rear, but I know, having done it before, I know what it's meant to be, but I'll need to just explain it to you. Essentially here, this wall that's between the two roofs is another parapet wall. So that's this part here, really, and we're going to extend it afterwards, but I'm just going to leave it as it is for now. And then the roof goes over the top of these other three walls. And it's quite easy to do that with Revit. So now again, back to roof by footprint. And what I will just check in those drawings again is the eaves. which you can see here. So it's got just a small eave overhang, which I'm going to just guess, to me that looks like it's about 200 mil. Okay, so this time I'm going to use pick walls, or leave it on pick walls, because then I can put an overhang there on the ribbon. And again, 200 is what I'm going to put in for the overhang. And I'm going to tick define slope, and then pick the outside edge of that wall. Then I'm going to turn define slope off and change the overhang back to 0, and then pick the top edge of that wall at the top, the outside, and then the bottom edge of this wall at the bottom. And so now to do the last side of the roof, I can't use pick walls because it's going to try to put it onto the wrong side. So instead I'm just going to go back to the line tool and draw this final edge by tracing the inside edge of this little wall here. So they're the 4 sides of my roof. Now I'm going to use, again, trim to corner to close this shape and connect all those corners. And there we are. So there's the rectangular shape I want. Again, tick to finish will create the roof. And now I might go back to that south elevation so that you can see what it's done. And so you can see again, it's sloping in the correct direction, but the slope is too much, the angle's too great. So again, with the roof selector, we can just use the arrows there to drag that down so that it's below the height of the wall. Something like that. As long as the top is below that wall slightly, that's enough. And then to finish it off, I'll go to the 3D view, so it's a bit easier to see the walls. And then I'm going to select each of these walls that should sit under the roof, starting maybe with this one, and go to attach top base, and then choose the roof. And you can see it only attaches it from that point where the roof begins. So now I'll select the next one, again, attach top base, choose the roof, and then the final wall there, again, attach top base, choose the roof. So that's looking a lot neater. And of course now we can see there's a gap between the wall here and the underside of that roof. So I'm just going to fill that in. So that's fairly easy. Now that I've done these 2 roof shapes, I can go to upper floor CL and then just use the wall tool. Make sure I change it to the same wall type that I used for the outside, which was generic 250mm wall. Check that the height is to the parapet level. And then I'm just going to click onto the corner of that wall that I've already got. And if it's going to the other side, like it is with mine, you can always press space to flip it to the other side. And then I'll click onto the corner here. That will finish my wall. And because they're in line, Revit will just join them automatically. So if you look at that now in a 3D view, you can see it all reads as one wall, even though we know that's a separate wall there. And that's really helpful because it means that this wall is much higher. It's coming from all the way down at the ground level. But this wall just starts at the ceiling level. Right, can you see why that's a really good thing? If we look at the interior, so I'll just go and make a view in the upper floor. I'll make a camera view through that space. So you can see that's the wall that I've just made. Right, so it means it can start at the ceiling level, which means we don't have a wall blocking that whole space off. But we need it to block the hole to the roof. So again, that's how the levels can help you with Revit, but again, also thinking about how the roof and the wall join together. So that should do it. So if you have a go at those two primary roof forms, then afterwards we can have a look at the awning roof shapes, which are much smaller, but actually a bit more fiddly. So I'll give you some, try those, and yeah, let me know if you have any issues.